Welcome back to the 2022 Hawaiian Airlines Diamond Head Classic on ESPN. Utah State has been riding the wave here so far in this quarterfinal matchup, 36-24 at halftime over Seattle U. Aloha, everybody. Once again, next to Malcolm Huckabee, I'm Kanoa Leahy, and in this matchup of two potent three-point shooting offenses, who would have known we'd be talking about Utah State's defense and its performance so far in this one?
I mean, they held Seattle below 10% from the three-point line. They shot 8% in that first half. Seattle, credit Utah State. They did an excellent job contesting shots. Right here, some good action by Seattle. Contested shot. Again, their closeouts in that first half, Utah State, the ability to contest shots and then force either turnovers or contested difficult twos was impressive, and a big reason why they have the 12-point lead going into the half.
And now for our first half stats brought to you by Dollar General. And yeah, the numbers tell the story. Some anemic offensive numbers for sure for Seattle U.
Yeah, and I think that's going to have to change in the second half. I think the big thing is don't settle for contested threes. There weren't a lot of free throws in that first half. Utah State only took two of two, and Seattle U, they took 4. They were 3 of 4 from the free throw line. If you're Seattle, try to get the ball into the paint, see if you can get yourself to the free throw line or get a higher percentage shot.
Also, you saw the 3 fouls for Cameron Tyson, who launches on his first touch of the second half. Try it again. This time, he splashes it. So Cam Tyson playing with the 3 fouls. Looks like he's going to try to get percolating here early.
Oh, what do I know? That's what they do, though. We talked about it. Seattle, they're going to shoot a lot of threes, and that one right there, though, was better for Tyson. That's a wide-open look.
Pull-up shot by Ashworth, and he's able to respond. He's got 8. Stephen Ashworth, who was inserted into the starting rotation upon the concussion suffered by Rylan Jones, forced him to miss 3 games. Hard, I would imagine, for Ryan Odom to make the decision as that one rattles in and out of the palm of Tyson, goes out of bounds, and it'll stay here. But the decision by Ryan Odom, as Rylan Jones makes his way back from the concussion, to put him back into the starting rotation, decided not to do so here for this game, but he says he kind of likes the rotation when it's Stephen Ashworth coming off of the bench, which is interesting.
Well, most coaches would like to have that option, a guy that's averaging that many points and shooting that well, bring him in off the bench. But he said, look, Ashworth was okay with that. He's a team-first guy, and certainly that's a luxury that Ryan Odom has.
A luxury to be 7-1 as well, like Trevin Dorius on that blocked shot against the Mecca Udeni. And then Dorius at the other end gets his own rebound off the miss. Ashworth finds Funk on the baseline. No, the rebound to Schumacher.
You can't ask for a better look if you're Utah State. That's a beautiful dribble drive by Ashworth, who got his teammate a wide open, really, that's like a 6-footer, just short-armed it.
Seconds to shoot on this possession. Udeni gets to the baseline. Grigsby again, shot clock winding down to a cutting Tyson. A good cut, a great find by Grigsby.
And they need more of that. Again, they've been so aggressive, Utah State, on the three-point line and in the passing lanes. Loosen them up, get a couple of backdoor cuts. That's a great cut.
Tyson, who's averaging 19.9 points per game, now has 10. Up top, the 3 by Shoga. Misses off to the left. And again, Schumacher collects the board. That's his 3rd rebound. Goes right into Shoga, and they're going to call Schumacher for the offensive foul.
Well, we talked about Cameron Tyson's offensive ability right here. Again, you're denying him. That's a great backdoor cut. And then that body control right there, big time. This right here, easy call for the ref to make. That's great transition D. And a unforced turnover at that time. Again, you got to be better in that one. In transition, you're trying to gain some momentum. Pull it back out if there's nothing there. You don't want to force the action in that situation.
3rd foul, meanwhile, against Schumacher. So the starting backcourt for Seattle U, 3 fouls apiece. Open look, Ashworth looked down at his feet to make sure he was outside the line, but he couldn't hit it. Funk has the green light. And that's why.
Second chance opportunities. That right there, all created by the work on the offensive glass by Utah State.
Nice feed, but again, a near miss. That time by Udeni. What a cut, what a pass, Ashworth to Bairstow. That was beautiful.
That's clinic right there. That's clinic level. You cannot run transition offense any better. And Ashworth with the beautiful dime. Right now, Utah State is rolling. Clinic, fast break basketball right there. Ainsworth with the dime.
Welcome back. Utah State showing some signs of the offense they were reputed to have here coming into this game. You see their national rankings, 86.6 points per game, shooting 50% from the field, tops in three-point percentage, and 19.4 assists per game, which is also top 10 in the country. I mean, those are fantastic numbers, and we're seeing them at least in some stretches here for Ryan Odom's squad.
And you know, what a joy for us to watch some of their practice the other day as well too. They put so much emphasis on passing. Again, they do a lot of shooting drills.
Oh, they get a lot of shots up.
But the passing, then there's a big emphasis on the passing end. That last play by Ashworth in transition, just really, that explains how they are as a team. They're so well coached, but their passing ability, I think that's what sets up a lot of the open looks that they get that leads to the percentages going so high from the three-point line.
Well, Funk called for the foul, and interesting, we've been referencing a few players that have slipped at different points in this game, and Stephen Ashworth himself grabbing one of the towels and getting down on his knees to wipe up the perspiration. The players care about that as much as anybody, obviously. They're the ones that have to navigate up and down. Good effort by Tyson to try to save it. He goes into that front row of seats, but it'll belong to Utah State.
They're just out of sync right now offensively, and that's been the issue. Again, a lot of that Utah State, give them credit, they've been active in the passing lanes, and then they've been forcing them really to run their offense under duress. And then on the other side, they've been picking them apart.
Look at that play. That was beautiful basketball. Shulga to Funk, and he found the cutting Dorius for the lay-in and one.
Well, something that we haven't talked about a lot. The Utah State, they set great screens. Again, the best way to get yourself open, go set a good screen for your teammate. That time, again, screen, a roll, textbook offense right there. Spacing, movement, and then good screens. That's something we've seen a lot of from Utah State in this game thus far.
Yeah, that's just Utah State running its stuff right there on that sequence. Here's Funk from well outside the arc. Rattles it home. Aggies starting to cook here. Straight points for Utah State. Shea Riley on the drive gets fouled. 15:51 left to play here in this second half, and Riley slow to get up after that last sequence. Utah State running its stuff to get an and one at the bucket, and then the open look for Taylor Funk. And he drills it. Aggies all smiles in Honolulu. The annual NBA on Christmas Day tradition continues with 5 star-studded games on ESPN and ABC. Sixers-Knicks will kick things off at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And then it's Lakers-Mavs, followed by Bucks-Celtics, Grizzlies-Warriors, and Suns-Nuggets capping the night. Every year, some of the association's best matchups can be found on Christmas Day. We got the Steph Curry jersey here in the house here at Simplify Arena at Stan Sheriff Center. Utah State opening things up, a 10-0 run over the last $1:16 on the clock. Meanwhile, Seattle U in a scoring drought, a little over 2 minutes. Riley Grigsby trying to change that, and is able to do so, muscling his way past Sean Bairstow.
And I said that in the first half. I felt like they need to exploit some matchups, simplify your offense. Again, we know you're a three-point team. Simplify the offense and try to go to a matchup that favors you. And Grigsby that time, again, using his body to get close into the lane. I think that's something they're going to have to continue to try to go to. But on the other end, they're going to have to get stops. Right now, Utah State doing a good job running their offense. They're getting some easy opportunities. And then defensively, Utah State has been able to force some turnovers and get points off of those turnovers. Shea
Riley picking up that foul, his second. Shogo gets loose for a three. And Riley rips down the board. Well, for what it's worth, Seattle U 3-0 this season when trailing at halftime. But this seems a little bit more of a daunting task, especially after Grigsby is called for the offensive foul.
Well, although it's not a live ball turnover, you look at the numbers, Utah State 11 points off of turnovers. Again, we've talked a lot about both these teams offensively, how good they are shooting the three. I think the story in this game has been Utah State's defense. They've been able to create some offense with their defense.
Shoga tried to shovel it underneath, but it was broken up. Tyson the other way, and he gets fouled. Fouled by Rylan Jones. It's his second. 13 foul for Utah State. That's another way that perhaps the Red Hawks can get into this if they can get the Aggies to accumulate some fouls, maybe get some free throws going. Tyson, extra pass, it's Grigsby for three, off the mark. That one almost tipped in by Shoga of Utah State. But he ends up with the board. So the deep shooting struggles continue for Seattle U. They're 2 of 19 from outside the arc. Hamoda left it short side. Now the Red Hawks coming the other way. Schumacher trying to draw the contact. There was some, but they're going to say that Hamoda or Akin maintained his verticality. Here's Akin down the lane.
And that's the key word, verticality. I like that no call. Again, he went straight up. The offensive players moving into him.
This time they will get Akin for the foul.
And the passing of Utah State on full display, in particular in transition. That right there is a wing running. Hamoda again running the floor, getting rewarded for filling the lane. And the guards are doing a good job of just finding these guys.
Inbound pass, Schumacher, just like the end of the first half, had a lay-in that just wouldn't fall. It has been one of those days here for Seattle. And the defensive foul is going to go against the Red Hawks. That's going to be Schumacher picking up his fourth. Well, Mama said there'd be days like this, right? And Seattle's experiencing it. 25% for the game from the field, 2 of 19 from 3, and for Schumacher, the guy averaging almost 11 for, he will now take a seat with the 4 fouls. He's 1 for 8.
And I think the problem when you try to get back into a game against a team like Utah State, they are such a good passing team. So they pass the ball so well, and then they're spacing. Again, they're going to spread you out, and now you're trying to scramble. Any mistake you make, they're such good passers, really 1 through 5 out on the court. Really difficult to try to disrupt their offense.
So Matt Levis, playing in his 3rd game of the season, quickly commits the foul. Utah State, we mentioned 9-1, so for their first loss of the season against Weber State on Monday, 75-72 decision as Akin got blocked up top by Williamson. But Akin, a hard-earned trip to the free throw line. In that game, though, for the Aggies, the loss to Weber State, they led by as many as 18 points. So they very well could have come into this tournament as one of the few unbeatens in college basketball, but instead they come in 9-1. The 9-0 start prior to that loss was the best start in program, or tied, I should say, the best start in program history. 2017 and 18, they also started 9-0. And then you go back, the first time they did it was in the 38-39 season. So a good start for Ryan Odom's crew, regardless of the loss to Weber State.
Yeah, and he was really upset about that Weber State loss. Again, they've been playing at such a high level, but certainly a great start for them. And I think, obviously, the three-point shooting, but I've been impressed with the backcourt play. Ryland Jones and Ashworth, they really have controlled the pace and then done a nice job setting their teammates up for some high percentage looks.
So the lead is 20, largest lead of the game here for the Aggies. And here comes Cam Tyson. Open three from the corner. It's Riley. It rims out. Story of the game for Seattle.
That was one of the few looks in this game that was wide open.
Jones lobs it. Hit the rim, though, not quite on point and on the same page with Atkins. And a blocking foul will go against Jones. More substitutions here for Seattle as Udeni comes in along with Branson Chatfield.
Trailing 20. You're Seattle right now, 13 minutes to go. You got to try to think about getting this thing 10 or 12, somewhere around that 6-minute mark, but it's going to happen on the defensive side. You cannot trade buckets with them as you take a look at a nice move by Cameron Tyson. But it's going to start on this end right here. They're going to have to get some stops.
And Cameron Tyson, he's got to get going for sure. 12 points, but such a focal point of this offensive success for Seattle. First team All-WAC and All-WAC newcomer team selection a year ago. Played previously at Idaho and Houston. Funk. Oh, don't fake the Funk. Drills the three again.
Well, his footwork coming off the pin downs again. That's a big coming off a pin down like a two guard, and that's really difficult to guard. And I think that's one of the reasons why they have been really such a tough out early on. Really 1 through 5, they can knock down threes.
And Tyson hits another high degree of difficulty jumper. Just the third made three of this game for Seattle, and Cam Tyson has made all three of them. He's got 15. Ashworth. That one goes. And they keep trading buckets, as you alluded to, Huff. Rajkovic for three, rims out. Offensive rebound, Chatfield, the pump fake. Draws the whistle, and in fact, a hard foul delivered by Dan Atkins. So Utah State now 8 of 21 from outside the arc. They're grooving 57-36 on a beautiful day in Honolulu, Hawaii. Welcome back. 11:33 left to play in this quarterfinal matchup. Utah State up big right now on Seattle U, 57-36. The officials reviewed that last foul by Dan Atkins, but ruled that it was just a standard foul. Now, a couple of nights ago, a pretty cool scene at Kanikapila Grill at the Outrigger Reef Hotel. The annual Coaches versus Cancer event, been tied to the Hawaiian Airlines Diamond Head Classic. A lot of the head coaches from the participating teams in the tournament showed up. They had a live auction, a lot of mingling, a lot of imbibing for some of the participants and those in attendance, but it's always a wonderful fundraiser for a great cause, and something that Aran Ganat, the head coach for the University of Hawaii, really has pushed as one of the staples for this week's experience. It's now the 5th year that they've done it, and it has been deemed a success each and every year.
And really congrats to everybody that has been involved with that event. Certainly, cancer has impacted pretty much any person, no boundaries, whether your race, ethnicity, gender, doesn't make a difference. So I applaud all these coaches that get involved with this and raise awareness and funds to try to find a cure for this cancer.
Chatfield able to hit a couple of free throws out of the timeout. One of the highlights for me from that event, Kyle Smith, head coach for Washington State, he showed up in Olukai slippers, also known as flip-flops. He looked the part, looked very comfortable here in the islands, and so a lot of us, Roxy Bernstein and myself included, we were very much trying to push him to wear those on the sideline for one of the games this week.
Hey, could you say that again for me again? You're just showing off your vocabulary skills. That's all you wanted to do. So go ahead and say it again for me. What is it again?
Slippers or flip-flops. The brand was Olukai, which is a very fancy brand of footwear around these parts.
Oh, I need a pair of those, man.
You definitely do. You should talk to Kyle Smith. That is a nice drive there by Riley Grigsby.
Just like that, 10-52. Seattle trying to chip into this lead. This deficit, and that right there, though, has been problematic.
They've been able to execute those kinds of pick and roll plays to near perfection throughout this game. Grigsby's going to pick up the foul. The chemistry between guys like Ashworth and Akin on that occasion, it's been precise.
And the reason why they're getting open again, it's something you don't hear talked about a lot in broadcast, but the screening. The screening by Utah State is what allowed for these guys to get some open looks, or the bigs rolling to the paint. They come up and they do a really good job of setting ball screens or pin downs. It forces the defense to make a decision. If you don't hedge or help, then these guys shoot the ball too well. If you overhelp, Utah State's a very good passing team, and they have manipulated this defense of Seattle.
Good from the free throw line. He's 5 of 6 from there. 11 points, 6 rebounds. How about 4 different players for Utah State, each with 11 points in this one? Chatfield going over the right shoulder there. Akin able to fight for the board as he falls to the floor. Hamoda underneath. And that one deflected out of bounds. It stays here. But the balanced attack of Utah State, another part of their game that has surfaced here this afternoon. Bairstow, Ashworth, Akin, Funk, all with 11 points.
4 players in double digits, and you're right, the balance, how they spread it out. I've been impressed, though, with Akin as well. His activity on both ends of the court. On cue right here, rolling and staying too small.
Oh, boy.
But that's just a beautiful pick-and-roll basketball right there, and the guards, again, the backcourt of Utah State continuing to do a nice job of making good reads in their pick and rolls.
That was just a fantastic bounce pass, by the way, by Ashworth, leading to that Akin bucket. Foul committed there by Rylan Jones, and that's his 4th. So Jones will head to the Aggies bench, and Max Scholda will check back in. So here is Matt Levis shooting 1-1, 6'1" sophomore from Portland, Oregon. 3rd year with the program. Turned 21 years of age earlier this month. So belated happy birthday to him. 1 of 2 from the line. It's going to be Scholda bringing it up. Under 10 minutes to play here, 2nd quarter final. You got 2 more games coming your way here, day 1 of the Hawaiian Airlines Diamond Head Classic. Bullet pass to Hamoda, driving baseline, bounce pass to Akin. They got broken up. Here's to Grigsby. That's a strong drive. We've seen him be able to pull that off a few times here in this game.
They're trying to get back in, but every time they try to cut into this deficit, Utah State has had the answer.
Ashworth. Oftentimes it was that guy who answered too. Ashworth that time unable to hit the runner. But it stays here out of bounds. So 22nd put back up on the shot clock. Stephen Ashworth in his 3rd year with Utah State out of Lone Peak High School right there in the state of Utah. Served the 2-year mission in Indianapolis for getting his college career going. Tried to draw the contact. The official wouldn't give it to him.
And that's a good no call. Again, that was Ashworth that threw the contact. You're absolutely right.
Oh, that block by Shulga from behind against Schumacher. Lead pass. Bairstow. Grigsby going to draw the foul on the drive, but I mean, this has been the definition of this game right now for Utah State. The defense leading to the offense and a nifty lead pass. Sean Bairstow doing the honors.
Yeah, Seattle really has had no answer defensively. Utah State, they continue to make it difficult for Seattle. They run their offense, and then on the other end, in transition, I mean, you can pick probably 10 plays in this game that you can show as teaching moments on how to run your transition offense. Off of turnovers or misses. They are just so good passing the ball.
Off of the rebound, Tyson unable to hit. And the whistle will go against Seattle U. That's going to be Branson Chatfield picking it up, so it actually goes the other way. So if you're Chris Victor, you're starting to formulate the messaging. It's still 8:13 left in this game. A lot can happen, but you're starting to formulate some of the things that you want to give your team as far as the messaging after this one. What are some of those items?
Well, you said it earlier in the broadcast. Sometimes it's just one of those days. And they've had some opportunities in the first half, some layups that they missed. But make no mistake about it, I think the biggest issue they've had is trying to contain this Utah State offense. They've done a good job. The backcourt.
Oh boy, they're going to call a blocking foul. Akin thought that Grigsby had pushed off, and at least from our perspective, it certainly looked like that could have been the call, but instead they call the block against Akin.
Yeah, that one right there is tough. It looked like, you're right, Grigsby got the elbow out. Let's see. Now again, from that angle, the elbow came up high after the contact. Right, so again, I think they got him on the initial, he's going away, but certainly at the end, and the initial look looked like Grigsby had that elbow up first. Certainly could have gone either way. Still, though, another missed opportunity for Seattle.
And then Grigsby commits the foul at the defensive end. And that's going to be his fourth. So Utah State pulling away here against Seattle U. Sean Bairstow getting liftoff. Welcome back to Honolulu, Hawaii. Day 1 action of the Hawaiian Airlines Diamond Head Classic. SMU defeating Iona in what was a heck of a game to open the festivities here this week. They advance to the semifinal round tomorrow, awaiting the winner of Utah State and Seattle U. George Washington and Washington State doing battle at 9 Eastern on ESPN2, followed by Hawaii and Pepperdine at 11 Eastern, also on ESPN2. Roxy Bernstein and Tim Welsh will have the call for those late games. But Utah State, it's been a beautiful brand of basketball exhibited by the Aggies here.
14 assists in this game. They averaged 19 on the season right here. In transition, to me, has been the most impressive. They run their transition offense. It's a thing of beauty. They picked the Seattle defense apart, and they've had some high percentage shots to go along with some excellent defense.
We talked about the balance. We see Akin, Bairstow each with 13 points, Ashworth and Funk each with 11. And they share the basketball. They never seem to panic on any offensive possession. And even though they are leading in fast break points here, 13-2, even in half court, it just seems as though they're playing with pace. That ball is popping around the floor.
And I think the biggest number out of all of this is the 13%. And that's the percentage that Seattle's shooting from the three-point line. Defensively, look, they've been really good against a very good offensive team in Seattle. They've contested everything, and then they've been able to create some offense with their defense. And they're getting it done in all phases of the game.
Grigsby blocked by Akin, but a foul will be called. And that'll be number 3 on Akin. So Riley Grigsby go to the free throw line.
Well, on the other side, Grigsby and Tyson really the only two Seattle players to get it going offensively.
Grigsby with that free throw now has 11, and Tyson with 15. Seattle, a team that averages almost 10.5 made threes per game, but you alluded to the numbers, 3 of 23 from beyond the arc in this one. They've gotten some looks. I think can also be characterized as one of those days where the shots just weren't falling collectively, but you also have to give a ton of credit to this Utah State defense because that length has bothered the Redhawks throughout.
And, you know, I think a couple of opportunities missed early on really hurt them. Some uncontested layups. I mean, they had at least 3 or 4 in that first half. Utah State got it going offensively.
More that ball movement on display. Shulga can't hit. Hamoda able to rip away the offensive board. Shulga, the pump fake, up, in, and one. They just keep pouring it on.
Offensive spacing, offensive rebounding, and then the ability to make the extra pass and willingness has been on full display. They've had them spread out, and then it's really clinical in terms of their offensive execution.
4 assists now for Ashworth. And going to the free throw line is Max Shulga. Double-double for him, 9 points, 9 rebounds. Shulga, we mentioned, who hails from Kyiv, Ukraine. Played for the Ukraine national team in the FIBA Under-20 European Championships this past summer. Speaks 4 languages: Ukrainian, Russian, Spanish, and English. As that 3 is off the mark by Tyson. The hesitation. Easy pickings for Shulga.
He put him to sleep, Shulga. And we haven't talked about him a lot, but I think he has been solid on both ends for Utah State. That time, showing off the hezzy. And then putting on the Jets. That's a beautiful move.
That's a beautiful shot right there by Cam Tyson. He's got 17. And right now, Chris Victor, he just wants to see his squad maintain a little fight here over the last 6:20. They trailed by 22 points. He just wants to see if his squad can muster up some of that competitive spirit that we've seen through the first 10 games coming into this tournament.
And I think that was the difference to start this game off. Again, we've talked about this with a lot of these teams. We had an early tip in that Iona SMU game. This one, again, there's nothing normal about these tournaments. Yes, they're great events, but you get guys out of their normal routine. Shoot-around's not the same. Again, you're waiting around for the first game to finish. The start time of the games are different. Not making excuses. I think the energy that Utah State came out with in that first half really set the tone for this game. And before Seattle really could match it, it was too late. They already had it going. And, you know, that's something that you look for in these games. And I think you're right. That's something that Coach Victor wants to see with his guy. All right, listen, it was one of those days. Who's going to finish fighting? You want to see that as a coach. Who's going down swinging? Yes, it looks like you may not be able to come back against this deficit, but who are the guys that are going to continue to fight through this? Because remember, you got to turn around tomorrow. The last thing you want to do is come into these tournaments and go over.
Ryan Odom's squad for Utah State, they were preseason picked to finish 8th in the Mountain West Conference. I think that league is setting up to be highly entertaining here this upcoming season as they jump into conference play here shortly. San Diego State the favorite, but you have New Mexico getting off to that unbeaten start. You have Utah State now sitting at 9-1. They're looking to get their 10th win if they hang on here. UNLV off to a fantastic start to the season. And it looks like we have a violation committed, or we have a timeout. It looks like Utah State signaled for the timeout prior to that possible 5-second violation on the inbounds. But yeah, this Mountain West Conference, I think it's going to be a doozy potentially.
I mean, this Utah State team, seeing them up close again, we talked about it, the assists that they average, close to 20 assists per game, and you know they're a team that, again, when they get it going from the three-point line, they're such a good passing team. They're going to be a team that you do not want to try to play catch-up against. They're solid defensively. You're right. That conference is going to be a bear to run through if they're a team that was picked to finish 8th. My goodness.
Well, we mentioned one of those Mountain West squads, New Mexico, still unbeaten. In fact, head coach Richard Pitino pulling off a win over Pops and the Iona Gales prior to Rick Pitino bringing his team out to the islands. But the remaining unbeatens, there's only a few of them. UConn and Purdue have climbed the charts. They're still without a loss, but how about the Lobos of New Mexico? Maybe one of the biggest surprises here, at least in the western region of college basketball.
A really good backcourt, Jalen House and then Jamal Mashburn Jr. That backcourt duo, and I think any team, I don't care how good your bigs are, you have to have good backcourt play, and that's what we're seeing on display here in this tournament. And Utah State's backcourt has really done a nice job controlling the pace of this game.
Yeah, with that New Mexico backcourt was able to do against the Iona pressure, right? That vintage Rick Pitino full court or extended pressure. I mean, they just cut it up in that entire game.
They had no answer whatsoever for that. And, you know, again, you know, when you talk to all these coaches, the thing they talk about is the turnovers, in particular live ball turnovers. That's something that you can't have. I don't care if you're playing against a pressure team or just a straight man-to-man team or a zone. It doesn't make a difference. But you have to have guards that are going to make good decisions with the ball. We got some really good backcourts in this tournament.
There's Kobe Williamson at the line, sophomore from Melbourne, Australia. Hit a free throw. And so the lead is 24. This is the largest lead of the game for Utah State. Still 5.5 minutes to play. Ashworth pumps the defender by, lets it fly. You betcha. Stephen Ashworth, true again, his 4th made 3. He's got 14. Tyson responds. He's got 20, and some of his threes have been difficult to say the least.
I mean, I've seen a lot of difficult shot makers. I think of Isaiah Wong at Miami, but Cameron Tyson and this guy right here.
Well, this was the last few trips up and down the game I think we were more expecting here in the islands in this quarterfinal matchup.
I mean, Ashworth, to me, I mean, my goodness, he's a guy that they're thinking about potentially bringing back off the bench, averaging close to 20 a game.
What a pass. Shulga able to find Akin. And trying to beat the Aggies defense down the floor. Danny couldn't handle the pass. Yeah, Ashworth now 5 of 8 from downtown. It was a 3-point contest for a quick stretch there between Ashworth and Cam Tyson. And yeah, exactly, a guy who's averaging 18 a game. You see what he does, not only as a scorer, but as a facilitator. But Rylan Jones was the guy who started in that spot to start the season. The decision still has to be made by Ryan Odom. Does he like the rotation with the firepower that Ashworth provides off the bench, or is that something he wants to keep in this starting rotation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really difficult decision, in particular because he's playing so well. I mean, he's playing at probably as high a level as anybody right now. The way he's shooting it, I think the decision-making really has been the thing that has impressed me the most.
Ripped out of the air by Levis. Ahead it goes. The layup not there, though, for Angelo Lloyd, who just checked into the game. Yeah, it's an issue for Coach Odom, but I think you have a lot of coaches, as Amota trying the straight on three, and he gets in on the fun. That's his first made three. You have a lot of coaches who would love to have to make that decision, right?
Hey, let me bring that guy in off the bench that's averaging 18 and shooting lights out from the three-point line. I think a guy we haven't talked about a lot, but I think he's an X-factor guy for them, is Max Shogo. I think he's an excellent defender. He can guard really 1 through 3, but I think his defense and rebounding has been on display. Not a lot of points, 6 points, but I think 9 rebounds. That sums him up right there. He's done a really nice job on the defensive and offensive glass and played some really tough ball for Utah State.
Yeah, Shogo officially with the double-double, 12 points, 10 rebounds, also has 4 assists. By the way, that last three by Matthew Levis for Seattle, the first made three by a Red Hawk player not named Cameron Tyson. It is Utah State large in Honolulu. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Outrigger Hotels and Resorts. Come be here. And Dollar General. Save time and money every day. Oh, the Outrigger treating us so well at this time of year. I know that your fam came out with you, Huck, and I know that they're enjoying some of the amenities.
They've been in the pool all day and then go right out to the beach. It is a beautiful setup, and you're absolutely right. The hospitality has been A+. Really, what a wonderful time and event that has been put on. I can't say enough great things about it.
Meanwhile, how about the show put on by Utah State? A little rocky at first, really, on both sides as far as the outside shooting, but the stats now reflecting much more the Utah State team that we have seen throughout this season. The assist numbers, the three-point numbers, and they're now up big. Seattle, meanwhile, 5 for 26 from outside the arc. A huge part of the story that was written here to this point. Now under 3 minutes to play. Extra pass, it's Jones. A little long there, and the rebound collected by the Red Hawks. Dominic Penn, number 13 in the game, 6'2" redshirt sophomore. The son of Scoomy Penn. And that three by Victor Rajkovic is off the mark. Scoomy, of course, who played for Boston College and Ohio State, now an assistant to Taylor Jenkins with the Memphis Grizzlies.
Shout out to my guy, Spoony, one of the best players coming out of that Boston area. Guy was a big-time scorer and now doing great things in the NBA. And I know he's proud watching this young man get out here and get some minutes.
Drive by R.J. Idle-Rock, and earns a whistle. 48 left to play. Again, 2 more games coming your way here in this quarterfinal round. But right now, Matthew Levis all the way back at the opposite end of the floor. And he looks to be writhing in discomfort. May have gotten the wind knocked out of him, or worse, may have taken a hit to a much more sensitive region.
Again, right here, obviously, end of game situations, you do not want to see any injury. Yeah. And I don't know if it was the fall. Yeah, no, that was the initial contact, so certainly In this situation right here, minute 48 to go, you just don't want anybody on either side to get hurt. Now let's finish this thing out, play hard, but again, don't want any extra stuff after the whistle or guys to come up with injuries, because both teams, remember, they had to turn around and do it again tomorrow.
Another look at that play. And, yeah, just the collision in midair. The officials took a few moments to review something across the way, but we've just gotten the indication that whatever it was that they were reviewing doesn't amount to any elevation of a call. And so now we return back to the upcoming free throw attempt for RJ Idle-Rock as we take a look at the conversation between Chris Victor and the officiating crew. You mentioned 13th iteration of the Hawaiian Airlines Diamond Head Classic. What do you see as the value of a tournament like this for these participating teams, as most of them gear up for conference play right around the corner? But the timeliness of this tournament and just what they can get out of it.
Well, a couple of things. One, I think the competition, again, it gives you a coach. You find out a lot about your team. Obviously, you don't like to turn around playing so many games. You worry about injuries, fatigue, but it gives your conference, too, some bragging rights. It gives your conference a chance to see if you can go up against teams outside of your conference. And I think the experience, there's nothing like that experience. I think about coming out playing in the Maui Invitational as a player way back in the early 90s, and getting a chance to play teams like Arizona, play teams like Ohio State. You know, it's that experience as well to go along with being in Maui. Again, it's December. In Boston right now, there's some snow. Other parts of the country, there's some snow. And you get these guys to get out and get this type of experience and play in such a beautiful place. Unbelievable, life-changing, lifetime experience.
Well, and a bit of a run-through as to what the conditions are going to be like come those conference tournament weeks, right? Where you're playing 3 or 4 games in 3 or 4 days, as we have another Utah State player this time that seems to have taken a shot, and that's Rylan Jones. And it looked like he may have gotten hit above the shoulders, and to be frank, looked, at least for a moment, a little woozy.
I'm trying to figure out why the trainer's taking so long to get over there. He's on the ground. Yeah, he's definitely struggling to get up. And again, like I said, at these end of game situations, look, the game's over. 46 seconds left. But the last thing you want to do is see a guy get hurt. Yeah, now again, that's just, again, we always use the word flagrant. Again, is a guy flagrantly throwing his arm. That right there, again, that's a post move. That's a post player trying to create a little bit of space. It just happened to be against a guard that was right at his shoulder level. And
yeah, that's just, I think, more a 6-footer trying to defend a 6'8" post player. And he took a shoulder to the chops. And Rylan Jones still down here. 84-55 Utah State on top of Seattle U. 46.6 seconds left, but concern for Rylan Jones. Remember, he already missed 3 games with what was deemed a concussion. And I'm not trying to speculate or suggest that that is something that is at play here, but anytime a guy who has experienced that so recently takes any kind of contact above the shoulders, it's at least an area of concern. Well-earned ovation from the fans on hand here for Rylan Jones. Jones has spent 2 years at Utah before coming over to Logan. Last season led the team with 4.5 assists per game.
In for the Redhawks, number 41.
Have a seat here.
Coming
in for Rylan Jones. He's number 14, Connor Odom, 5'11" junior. And that's right, the son of head coach Ryan Odom. A basketball family, to say the least. Right corner three, Connor Gillis unable to hit. And it bounces out of bounds. It belongs to Seattle U.
Dave Odom, the father of Ryan, one of the best, one of the most well-respected guys. Former coach at Wake Forest. And I still marvel at that story about Tim Duncan, how he found Tim Duncan. And was potentially thinking about redshirting him when they first brought him over. And a couple of players, Randolph Childress, Mark Lucas, saw him playing in a pickup game, and after he smoothly, in Tim Duncan fashion, destroyed everybody in the court, said, yeah, I think we can use this guy this year.
And he would turn into one of the all-timers.
And the rest is history. But as you said, a basketball family. You know, for Seattle, look, it was that type of afternoon, really one they want to forget about. But credit this Utah State team. Again, they put on a full display defensively, and then passing. Their passing ability really was impressive in this one. But we are in line, I think, for a really good matchup tomorrow. This Utah State team against SMU in the semifinal. That could be a really good backcourt matchup that I am looking forward to.
So the Aggies cruise on through to the semifinal round here in the Hawaiian Airlines Diamond Head Classic with the 84-56 victory. Yeah, Utah State SMU. That's going to be a fun one. We'll have that at 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Still two more quarterfinals remain. George Washington and Washington State at 9 Eastern on ESPN2, followed by Hawaii and Pepperdine at 11 Eastern also on ESPN2. Roxy Bernstein and Tim Welsh will bring you the call. But once again, the final score here in this one, Utah State dominating 84-56 over Seattle U. For Malcolm Huckabee, I'm Kanoa Leahy. We'll be back for Game 3 of the Diamond Head Classic, 9 p.m. Eastern over on ESPN2. Until then, aloha.